What's going on, boxing people? So there's a couple of topics that I want to touch on that's strictly related to the women. And I had mentioned in my weekend recap how I wanted to cover Karriss Artingstall because that was a beatdown that she put on Vanessa Bradford. Now we know Vanessa Bradford is 39 years old, but she had never been stopped. She wasn't stopped until Artingstall stopped her, and that was in the second round. She was forced to retire. She had already been knocked down twice in that fight. And we got to remember, Bradford has went against opponents like Alicia Baumgardner, who we know has pop, and also Michaela Mayer, who's a tremendous fighter. So you're talking about tremendous champions that she's win against. And even though she's 39 years old, that was still an impressive feat, even if she wasn't what she once was. Artingstall put her down twice and stopped her. She didn't want to come out for the third round. So we got to start looking at Karriss Artingstall, especially being in the featherweight division, seeing how that featherweight division is developing. And she knows she's on a collision course with Skye Nicholson at some point. And we can't even forget, it's not just Skye Nicholson. We're talking about Raven Chapman as well. So the featherweight division is loaded with some prospects that are tremendous talents. That could be something else, unless they all end up moving up to super feather before they face each other. But whether it's at featherweight, whether it's at super featherweight, that division and those two divisions are going to be ones to watch. And most importantly, those three fighters are going to be ones to watch in those divisions going forward. And we'll also have to see what's going to happen with Sophia Leash. Sophia Leash, is she going to progress and all of a sudden be somebody you got to watch out for in that division? We'll have to see, but there's tons of talent that's there. So keep an eye out on Karriss Artingstall. Tremendous performance, and on to the next for her. Another fight that I had talked about, of course, in that recap was Gabriela Fundora. And Gabriela Fundora, of course, she did a phenomenal job stopping Mucino. Now, Mucino, she was the IBF champ, and Gabriela Fundora was going to have that opportunity for the belt. But it was just impressive of how she did it. She just completely dismantled her. She was never uncomfortable. You just think about the moment. She's 21 years old, and she embraced that moment like she had been a champ forever. You know, the way she handled it. She did start to try to rush and get her out of there, you know, when she hurt her. But that's what a lot of fighters do. Anytime they see them hurt, they go in there, and she was like, threw like 3 or 4 uppercuts to the body because she saw she was crumbling. So it's not like she was in a lot of danger there. And I'm sure that's still something that her coaches and everybody's going to tell her about. Hey, watch out. Make sure you stay defensively responsible. But the damage was done. You know, she had some serious heat on her punches. And you're looking for Fundora to be a multi-weight champ. She should be, and I believe she will be a multi-weight champ. I just want to touch, I gushed on the weekend recap over her. I just wanted to touch a little bit more on that fight because it was so impressive to be 21, to go in there, handle that moment, knowing there's so many people that will be watching. And it didn't affect her at all because she looked exactly like how I saw her in previous fights. So that lets you know she is ready for the moment. So that was impressive work by Gabriela Fundora. Now, who will she fight next? I think it could be Undisputed. You imagine at 21 years old, maybe going into 22, how she could be fighting for Undisputed already and be Undisputed champ at 21, maybe 22 years old. That is insane. And I'm not saying it's too much too soon. I'm just saying if the opportunity's there, why not take it? Esparza's right there, and she could challenge her. Now, of course, Esparza, what's really there for her? As far as, does she want Undisputed? We know Esparza wants Undisputed, but also, could we get that fight somehow if the WBC can kind of change their tune at 3-minute rounds? Maybe not, but even so, if we can get Undisputed, Fundora against Esparza, I would be down for that. And I hope it happens. It's possible it can happen. We've seen them. They did business for Mucino, and Samson Lekowicz can do business for Esparza. So let's see what happens. But Fundora put on, and congrats to her, on to the next. And speaking of 3-minute rounds, my Soliman actually did a 8-rounder for 3-minute rounds, and it did go to distance. She ended up winning a split decision. So we were talking about how this upcoming Friday, October 27th, we're going to have Amanda Serrano taking on Daniela Ramos. And that's going to be for 12 rounds, 3-minute rounds. Well, we just had 8 rounds, 3-minute rounds this past weekend. So if you weren't paying attention, that did occur. So if you can find that fight, my Soliman, she came out victorious. Congrats to her. And it goes to show it can be done. No issues. There was no hoopla over this, but that's why what Amanda Serrano is so big. You see other fighters like Soliman just did it. 8 rounds, 3 minutes. That's still longer than any other women's title fight. Because the women's title fight is 20 minutes. And she just went 24 minutes with her 8-rounder. No problems. So That's why what we're going to see this Friday, October 27th, is big. So we'll see what Amanda Serrano does with Danila Ramos. That fight might not even go that long, because that's part of the reason why we're talking about going 3 minutes, because women will be able to produce more knockouts, especially a fighter like Amanda Serrano. So in that case, it might not go the whole 12 rounds. So you look at Soliman. Solomon's not necessarily a knockout artist. And so that went the 8 rounds, that went the whole 24 minutes. Which some fighters like, some fighters don't. But the fact is, it's available. It's opportunity. It was there for her. She took advantage of it, and she was successful. So congrats to my Soliman, and hopefully she can get another fight, continue to grow. She only has 1 loss on the record, and wish her the best going forward. On to the next. And earlier on that card with Gabriela Fundora, you have right hook Roxy, and I hope I'm saying this name right, Iyana Verduzco. So Iyana Verduzco, she debuted at featherweight. And the fight was at 132 pounds. I wrote this down just to make sure I got that. 132 pounds, and she went the distance with Clarice Morales, who's now 1-0. So it's just the beginning of her journey. I was trying to find the fight, so I can't offer too much, but I just want to let you guys know that was on a Golden Boy card. So you might be on the lookout for right hook Roxy in the future. So if you see Iyana Verduzco, keep a lookout. Check out the fight, and let's see how she does. I did watch a few amateur fights that she had. I like what she's working with. Definitely a boxer, definitely a mover, very solid feet. So we'll see how she develops in the pro game. So I'm gonna continue trying to search for that fight that she had. But if not, eventually, especially being on the Golden Boy card, they might bring her up and actually have her so you can see the fight. But congrats to her winning a pro debut. I'm sure she's ecstatic and excited over that, and it's on to the next for her. Now, some interesting news that is coming up soon is 15-year-old Rianna Doforo, who is the charge of Steffi Bull, is going to be fighting in Mexico. I think it's on Miura Boxing, M-I-U-R-A. It's their promotional company, so it's their card. And they actually had a card on DAZN last weekend. And they're going to have another card on November 9th. And that's the card that 15-year-old Rianna Doforo will be fighting on. So Doforo, you've been seeing her around. She's using social media wisely, because I feel like I've been seeing her for a couple years now, And so now she is making her pro debut like crazy. But it was smart. It was smart because I already know her name, and she hasn't even been a pro yet. So it's wise what she's doing with social media. She understands it. She's growing her name. She's with a reputable trainer, especially the trainer of Terry Harper, who we already know is a multi-weight champion. So she's in good hands. We just got to see how she does. 15 years old, and especially being low on the undercard, at least that's what it looks like. I'm not sure. It's on DAZN on November 9th, but I'm not sure if they're actually going to show her fight. So that's what we're going to have to see. But from what I've seen from Rianna Doforo, and this is just footage that you see, she has quick hands, good movement. I think she's going to be one of those mid-range fighters, but we'll see. We'll have to see how her style develops over the years. She's so young. Obviously, going to grow into her body, figure out exactly which weight class she's going to end up in. There's so much still to figure out over time. So let's just enjoy her pro debut, cheer her on, support her fans. We got to support these fighters so we can keep growing the sport. And I wish her the best going forward, her and Steffi Bull. And that's all I really have for this one. Just want to drop a quick, it's like a news and notes kind of thing on this one for the women. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Until next time, peace.